Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I think the first thing to say is welcome and apologies for the long delay you've had. The gentlemen sitting down now at the table have finished their deliberations. I don't think I will take too much time other than just to introduce them for you. To my extreme right, we have Patrick from Northern Ireland, Jonathan Ford from the Welsh FA, FIFA Secretary General Jerome Falk, Scottish FA Secretary General Stuart Regan, and the FA's Secretary General Alex Horn. With no further ado, I will hand you over to Jerome, who will take you through the main decisions taken this afternoon. Thank you.
Just to be clear, the three decisions were taken unanimously between FIFA and the four British associations. We had 3 points on the agenda. The first one was about goal line technology, the second one about the two additional assistant referees, and the final one about the use of the headscarf. On the first item, goal line technology, you remember that last March we approved the use of technology, and it's not the use of technology, it's the use of the goal line technology. We are not entering into a discussion about technology, we are talking about the goal line technology. It was decided following the first decision to approve the two companies who have been through a new phase of test, the second phase of test, GoalRef and Hawkeye. These companies now have to produce, to build a number of systems which any event organizer can use. We, FIFA, have decided to use the system at the Club World Cup next December in Tokyo, as if it is working at the Confederations Cup 2013 and the World Cup 2014. The system went through the first two phases of this FIFA quality program, which is available on FIFA.com, so you have all the information. And just to be clear, it means, and the purpose of this FIFA quality program, the testing manual has been developed by FIFA with the objective of defining test procedures for GLT that are based on the requirements set by the IFAB and applicable and valid worldwide. Based on this principle, this manual describes the test procedures for the GLT system to test its functionality, determine its accuracy, and evaluate its robustness. The purpose of the manual is also this testing manual contains all the information that is needed to test a goal line technology system for the FIFA licensing, which means that it's open to other companies in the future, certification, and that's very important. There will be a final test each time a system is installed in a stadium. And the companies have to go, including Hawkeye and GoalRef, they have to pass this additional test anytime a new system will be installed in a stadium. The final certification, which means that it will be stamped by a FIFA quality seal, as we have for the balls, as we have for the gloves, etc., will be given only by then. And this certification license will be given for a period of 12 months. So that's the first point on goal line technology. Regarding the two, for sure there will be a revision of the laws of the game, as you can imagine, and this is entering into force immediately. The second decision regarding the additional assistant referees, again, unanimously, it was approved to use these two additional assistant referees whenever an event organizer wants to do so. We had a full presentation by Donald McVicker after the period of test, including the Euro 2012, as well as the various competitions in Brazil, in France, in Morocco, and Qatar. And as a result of this decision, an amendment of the laws of the game will be made with a separate section concerning these additional assistant referees. Finally, the third topic was about the Law 4, the players' equipment. You remember that at the last meeting there was a decision that we will allow the headscarf subject to a final decision or comment from our FIFA Medical Committee. Safety and medical issues have been removed for the use of the headscarf, and it is approved that players can have an headscarf. The business meeting in October will have to discuss about the design, about the color, about the specification on the headscarf, but the decision is not anymore subject to any points. I mean, the only one remaining point now is the design and the color. I mean, it seems to all of us clear that the color should be as the same color as the jersey and not have different colors. But that's something which has to be discussed, and it has then be given to all the, let's say, to the world, how you can use and how you can wear, sorry, an headscarf. So these are the 3 points. Again, there were a lot of discussion, but we all agree between the 4 British Associations and FIFA on these 3 points. Thank you.
Thank you, Jerome. Before we continue, just some basic courtesy, because this press conference is also live on FIFA.com. When you put your hand up to ask a question, we've got colleagues with microphones, but please use a microphone, because otherwise the translators can't hear you also. Thank you. First question to Martin Ziegler in the middle.
Hi, it's Martin Ziegler from the Press Association. Could you, the delegates, explain a bit about this being an absolutely historical decision for football, and actually, you know, realising what a serious decision you have made today?
Thank you. I'll begin, and I'm sure my colleagues will add. The International Football Association Board has been around since 1886. It's been the guardians of the laws of the game all that time, and it's developed slowly, conservatively, and carefully to try and improve the game on a worldwide basis. And I think the 3 decisions that we've made today are all ones which will be long-lasting and will resonate throughout the world. And they've been taken very carefully, but unanimously, and we look forward to their implementation over the coming months and years.
I will further add, thank you, Patrick. I will further add that the Football Association of Wales, of course, is extremely proud to be a member of this board. We do so, of course, with great deliberation, a lot of time, a lot of effort, and I'm pleased to say that the International Football Association Board has made some very good, fundamental and momentous decisions here today. We're very proud to be involved, as I said, with that.
If I could just add to that, I think over the past few years there have been a number of occasions where mistakes have clearly occurred in football. At the end of the day, the referee will make the final decision in football, but it's the view of this board that anything that can assist the referee in making the correct decision has to be good, and therefore I think it is a historic day for football, because we now have the technology to assist the referee, particularly and only in terms of goal line, and that's a point that we're keen to stress. It's goal line technology. The referee will be supported by that technology, and I'm delighted to be part of that decision that was made today.
And to reiterate from an English perspective, I couldn't agree more with everything that's been said. I think today is a hugely important day. It's a cause that, you know, we've had on our agenda for a number of years. We believe that the right technology helping the referee make a decision over something which is a relatively rare event in football, the scoring of a goal, is entirely appropriate. So, but the rigour we've given it in terms of approving the technologies and making sure that the systems are entirely robust, I think is absolutely right. But it's a great day, I believe, for football today to see that entry into the laws of the game. And I would draw emphasis as well to the 3rd decision we made. I believe that the allowing of the wearing of headscarves is a hugely important decision, again, that we've been able to make today, to allow entire populations of people to enjoy the game that we all love in a free capacity, knowing that they are unencumbered from some of the laws of the game, which would potentially restrict populations from enjoying the game. So again, it demonstrates that by being carefully sort of conservative, but also willing to consider issues, that the IFAB is entirely progressive in making each of these 3 decisions today.
Okay, Rob.
Sky Sports News. Mr. Valker, if I could ask you, it took a little bit longer to discuss than you perhaps thought beforehand. Is that because there were some concerns, there were more issues you had to go through? Was there some maybe differences of opinion before you reached your unanimous decision?
You mean on the 3 points, or which one?
Particularly with regards to goal line technology.
No, I think that what we did is that we went through a full presentation of what has been done by EMPA when it's about the goal line technology, when it's about the two additional assistant referees. Donald Madvika has the time he needs to present the full work he did over the last months. So we just took the time to make sure that the decision was based on facts and information where all members could just decide and know exactly where we are going. There was also discussion about making sure that it works and that the decision is based on systems which are working, and also to guarantee that it's not, as I said, I mean, as we said, it's not a decision forever. I mean, these companies and the system, firstly, it's open to any new company in the future, but these companies have to prove that the system is working, not only today, but in 6 months' time, 12 months' time, etc. So that's why we will also be monitoring permanently the use of the technology, of the goal line technology in the future.
If I may just add, I mean, I think it's a testament to the fact that IFAB not only debates, but deliberates over any of the key decisions that we're making. And it's very, very important that we take into consideration every single fact that we have available to us. In this particular case, we did exactly that. We took our time, rightly so, and made the right decision.
Alex, Dan Rowan, BBC News. Realistically, when do you think we will see this installed in the Premier League? The start of the season after the coming one, midway through this coming season? And secondly, what would you say to those like UEFA President Michel Platini, who believes this is the thin end of a wedge, it opens up a Pandora's box, it will lead to other areas of the game also being subject to technology, such as offsides, for example, in the future? 2 questions.
So in reverse order, just to reiterate what we've said deliberately in our statement, is that we discussed this and everyone said that we're not considering any further technological advances here. We're only looking at technology in relation to goal line and the instance of a goal being scored. We do not believe that it's appropriate for technology to creep out onto the field to interfere with other decisions. That anything beyond goal line technology assistance, we think, begins to undermine the job of the referee. So we've never debated it as an IFAB, and we're deliberately drawing a line under it and saying that goal line technology is where it stops. And we recognise what was said by the UEFA Exco last week, and indeed by Michel Platini on Sunday, and that's a response directly to the UEFA Exco. We have no intention of considering technology outside of the goal line area. As regards to the Premier League, that's a matter for them. I think you heard from Jerome, and I believe that the 2 companies who are licensed this far are present in the room. What we heard today was that it may be December until those technologies are absolutely finally approved, installed in stadia, and there's a focus, I think, a priority being given to the Club World Cup in Japan to make sure that the technologies are both available for FIFA. So there's a procurement decision that the Premier League need to make. They need to talk to the 2 technologies, and they need to talk to their clubs. My understanding from the summer meeting is that the clubs are supportive of it, and I think in principle, as long as all 20 clubs agree, it could be introduced partway through a season. That's not a decision on behalf of the Premier League, that's a decision for them. But I think it could be before season 13-14, it could be partway through 12-13, if the technologies are finally licensed in situ in, I think, each of the stadia in the Premier League. Now, I don't know how long that would take, but if it takes 6 months, it might be that it's possible to have it in play for the second half of the season, for example.
Dan, sorry, Dan. Just wait for the microphone.
If I could repeat the question for the sake of the television cameras, the question was, would that give rise to inconsistencies partway through the season? My view is no. You have a level playing field for both teams competing in a stadium. It's not as if it's in one goal and not the other. And therefore, if the technology exists and is licensed and signed off, it would feel appropriate for me to switch it on. Now, I recognise that someone needs to look at the overall integrity of competition and work out the timing of that, but if all 20 clubs agree that say there's a weekend which is the switch-on weekend, then I don't think anyone's disadvantaged.
Okay, Jamil.
Yeah, Jamil Shah, Estado São Paulo, Brazil. Mr. Valke, on the Confederations Cup and the World Cup, who's responsible for paying for this technology in both events in Brazil? Is it FIFA or the organizers in Brazil? And secondly, as you said, you, for more than 100 years, took very cautious decisions. This one seems to have a cost, a real financial cost. How are you going to make sure that, for example, clubs that are not as rich as yours afford the application of this technology in their stadiums in South America, Africa, elsewhere? Thank you.
So regarding the Confederations Cup and FIFA, we will pay for. And we leave the systems behind us. So the 12 stadiums in Brazil will be equipped by a system by 2014 and for the future. They will have just the maintenance cost then to run after the World Cup. The cost of the system today, of one system, it depends between the two companies, but we are, I think, between, let's say, 150 and 250,000 US per system, installed system. I mean, the cost of a plasma screen 10 years ago was 10,000 euro. The cost of a plasma screen at Interdiscount today is 500 euro. I mean, the technology, today you have two systems. In the future, you will have plenty of systems, and I'm sure that the cost will go down. So, again, you are talking about, yes, a bit an expensive system today. But again, I mean, it's not mandatory. It's not an obligation to use the system. I mean, the event organizers or the owner of the stadiums, they can decide to invest in such. I mean, I will not tell you how much costs a stadium. I mean, you know perfectly. You are building few in Brazil. The cost of 200,000 in the cost of a stadium, it's nothing. And you can imagine that a number of stadiums will be equipped sooner than later with such system.
Hey, Dan King, just up at the back there. Put your hand up, Dan.
Hi, Daniel King from The Sun. Just two questions, one very factual. Do I have it right that both systems will be used at the World Club Championship in December? And secondly, on the assistant referees, you've all unanimously agreed that it meets criteria. I'm wondering, after Euro 2012, with at least one glaring error and arguably more glaring errors by the assistant referees behind the goals, on what basis have you given approval for that system to go forward?
So I will answer about the first one. Yes, we will use the two systems. I mean, we are using two stadiums, and we'll use a different system in each of the stadium. But again, I mean, it will give us also a chance to see the level of test they will have go through, and if they succeed, it is in December. For the other question, who wants to answer?
Yeah, I'll happily take. I mean, I think one thing you need to take into consideration, both with regards the technology and also with regards to the additional assistance, neither of them are infallible. You know, decisions will still be ultimately that of the referee. These are aids to the referee, and that is all that they are. And of course, we will always find, sometime in the future, I'm sure, technological issues where a goal will probably be scored and the technology will not work, or additional assistants will make similar mistakes they made before. They are systems to help assist the referee and aid to the referee, and that is all. The decision of the referee has to be final.
Can I just build on that by saying that I think it's important to understand that today there are two separate issues. One is the decision that this board has made, which is to introduce goal line technology, and the second decision is to agree that the competition organisers will have responsibility for the implementation. So there will be some practicalities in terms of the rollout, which Alex has referred to, but it will be the competition organisers to consider how and when it's introduced and consider the implications for stadia with stadia organisers.
Okay, next question, Arne, please.
Arne Richter, Deutsche Presseagentur. The Germans, they're not very happy if they have to pay for the system in the Bundesliga. How can you motivate the Germans to introduce the system? And are there any plans by FIFA to help at least the poorer federations to install the system?
I mean, about the DFB, I have nothing to say. I mean, they will see if they find an interest to implement the system in the Bundesliga or not. I would say the ball is with them. Regarding the Poorest Federation, I would say that the Poorest Federation, they have other issues, and we are working with them on various programs to support them when it's about a way to have additional income. And this program, we have to support the poorest one to create new ways of income by, I mean, building, I don't know, a buvette or whatever they need, but just to support them financially in various ways. And I can tell you, I mean, the issue of the goal line technology is not the most important for them today. So again, I mean, they are different levels. I mean, we have 209 member associations. The 209 member associations are very different, are in 6 different continents, and are facing problems which are definitely very, very different. And that's why, I mean, the approach now is really, from FIFA, a tailor-made approach to our 209 member associations. That's we are talking about refereeing and universality, but it will take time for the 209 to implement it, for sure.
Ian. Ian Doverston from Sky News. Mr. Valker, could you, just 2 questions, could you give me an idea of the cost of installing each of these systems, or could you at least give me an idea of which is the more expensive to install in Stadia? And the second question is, in particular, in terms of the camera-based system, Hawkeye, will supporters get to see, either in a stadium or on the TV, a replay, as we see in cricket and in tennis, of the decision being made?
Answering the first question, I think I already said, I mean, it's between 150 and 250,000. I mean, you know, I mean, each stadium is different. I mean, the structure of the stadiums are different, and that's why, I mean, I can't give you a price which is a fixed price. We know that it's between 150 and 250,000. One system is using cameras, the other system is using a system in the ball, which means that you don't need a roof, or you don't need an infrastructure around the pitch. So again, for the time being, we have used one system. We moved the system from location to another one to go through these different tests, and that's where we need the company to produce the new systems, to install the system in different situations. That's why also it takes time. I mean, we cannot implement this decision tomorrow morning because there are no systems available, and both Hawkeye and GoalRef have to produce these systems for us to use them or others to use them. Regarding the use of the video, I would say that no, for the time being, we have not discussed about the potential to use this system as a video signal for the people in the stadium as for the television networks.
I think building on that point, this is about assisting the referee in making the right decision. So it's not designed to be put on giant screens as happens in other sports. This is technology to help the referee make that decision. And there are 2 different systems, as you know, a camera-based system, an electromagnetic-based system. Both systems have passed the various phases of tests so far, and they will now go through the final testing phase in situ before being licensed.
I think just adding to that, I think it's important to remember that, of course, the decision still has to be that of the referee. There's many reasons why a goal may not be given. If a player is offside and a giant screen comes up, goal, you could end up with a massive issue on your hand with regards to crowd management.
And Ian, if I could just add something to that as well. IFAB has made a decision in principle today to allow the use of goal line technology. We have 2 systems which have done well in testing, but there could be 15 other systems which are tested next year, which may have a different cost, a different way of implementing. And as Jerome said, a plasma would have cost you 10,000 euros a few years ago. Now you can pick one up for 500. So this is a momentous day. It's the beginning of something new within football, and we look forward to the whole issue of goal line technology developing over time.
A gentleman from Sky.
Hello, Lorenzo Fontani, Sky Sports Italy. Mr. Valco, maybe you said already, in that case I apologize. In World Cup, Club World Cup in Japan, you are going to use both goal line technology and assistant referees?
And that's a good question. We will use both goal line technology systems, but the 2 additional assistant referees, I have no answer for you. I mean, that's something we will discuss. I mean, as we said, all of this is part of the competition regulations. It's not in the laws of the game. I mean, so we'll have to discuss with our competition department and make sure that in regards of building teams, because what we have is to build teams, and that's where is the challenge. We are not talking just about European football. We are talking about having the 6 confederations and groups of referees from the 6 confederations, which is also, by the way, the challenge we would have for the World Cup using the 2 additional assistant referees. That's something we have to discuss with Massimo Busacca and the referees department in order to make a final decision. So I'm sorry, but I cannot. I'm not saying yes or no. I'm not. We have to work on.
Fabio.
Fabio Licari, Gazzetta dello Sport, Italy. Just a question. The final decision is that the referee, in case of decision of assistant referee, but the referee can say no if Hawkeye say yes.
Straight away, if the goal's not in the back of the net and the system goes off and says goal, and there isn't a goal, of course he can say no, no goal. If a player is offside, the referee will have to say no goal. No, nothing changes here.
I think it's really important to understand that. That's not taking the decision away from the referee. It's helping the referee, particularly in those situations where there isn't an immediate right or wrong answer because the referee may not have seen the total situation. If there was a handball just before the ball went in the back of the net, then the referee is not going to give it. So I think it's important to understand that the referee has the final decision.
Andy?
Hi, Andrew Warshaw from Inside World Football. Question for Jerome and one for Alex. Jerome, sorry, that the figure of 150 to 200,000, is that dollars, euros, what is it? Dollars. And can I ask you also, Jerome, after years of foot dragging over this, why does FIFA think now is the right time to introduce this? And Alex, my question to you is, are you at all concerned that only the richest will be able to afford goal line technology and the rest will be left behind and forced to use 2 extra assistants?
So to answer the first part of the question, I mean, you know that we reopened the discussion after what happened in South Africa during the World Cup in 2010, and also because now we have the systems. I mean, we have a system, or we have 2 systems, and we will have more systems, it seems, which can be used. And also we have been working all together to make sure that we have a level of test, that we have a structure to control the implementation of these systems, which works. So all of this together took 24 months since 2010, and now we have the feeling, and that's why the decision was made, that we can be confident and we can look at the future with these systems and new systems, potentially.
Andrew, can I just add one point there? One of the things that, of course, you mentioned was the fact that, the decision has taken a little while. I think it's appropriate the decision takes a little while. This was an item, as you remember, on the agenda in 2010, but the discussion at the time became a much wider discussion with regards to the introduction of technology in the game. And we've tried to delineate very clearly between the introduction of goal line technology and technology. And I think the wider debate was the one that we've probably taken a longer period of time over. This one, we're making the right decision for the right reasons.
Andrew, your question was about, I think, goal line technology versus additional assistant referees and the cost of them. Richer clubs, richer nations. For a start, they're not mutually exclusive. They do different things in many respects. The job of the additional assistant referee is to help the referee by spotting incidents in the penalty area, by looking when the ball's gone out of play. They have, and we've witnessed it in the recent Euros. They've got a position near the goal line, so they can look for whether the ball's crossed the line or not. But as we heard a lot today, the human eye can't act as quickly as the systems that we've approved into the laws today, and therefore there's an element of human fallibility in that. So the additional assistant referees are not there purely to manage the goal line. This technology is there purely to manage the goal line. So two different things in many respects. It's not one or the other. There is also a cost to additional assistant referees. One of the things we've debated is the quality of additional assistant referees. The pilot has worked well in UEFA because they've used qualified referees, very, very experienced qualified referees. Now, clearly there is a cost to that in terms of the paying of these individuals, the training of the individuals. So it's not there's a revenue cost to additional assistant referees, which anyone would need to, any competition would need to consider in terms of implementation. And I think we've heard a lot today that the cost of technology, having made this decision, we would all intend that the cost of technology comes down significantly as more and more companies are licensed into the technology of goal line, the world of goal line technology. We would expect the cost of technologies to come down. So it may well be that the early movers have to pay a little bit more to get that technology earlier, but it won't be like that forever, Andrew.
Okay, Brian, please.
Brian Holm from Reuters. Question from Alex. What would you say to Michel Platini, who is convinced that once you start with goal line technology, you're inevitably opening the doors for other forms of technology, video technology in the future? Bearing in mind that I think back in 2010, we were sitting here being told that goal line technology is not possible and FIFA wants to retain, or the IFAB wants to retain the human element.
So goal line technology, as we've said a couple of times, is where this starts and finishes for us. There are so few instances where there's a question about whether the ball has crossed the line or not. The only ability to score points in this sport is when the ball crosses the line. This isn't cricket or tennis where points are being scored in their multiple hundreds in every game. There are very, very few occasions when the ball crosses the line. So we all believe that technology to help the referee with something that is quite marginal, that you might not be able to see with the human eye, that happens very, very quickly, is entirely appropriate. None of us consider that technology interfering with the free-flowing nature of our game is a good thing. None of us are talking about technology in the field of play, away from the goal line. And that would be my reassurance to Michel.
Kia, please.
Kia Radnich, World Soccer. Jerome, I think it's probably for you, really. It's about the nuts and bolts. If the Premier League clubs decide that they want to use technology, what do they do? Do they have to come through FIFA to the companies, or do they go direct to the companies, obviously informing FIFA as a courtesy along the way? How does the nuts and bolts of the progression to implementation work, please?
No, they go directly to the companies, and the companies will have to, again, produce the number of systems they're asking for, and then the companies will have to go through this certification and the final installation test in the different stadiums to receive the final FIFA stamp, quality stamp. So that's the way it works, but we are there for the final part or phase of the installation before the use.
We'll take the last 2 or 3 questions. The gentleman there. Yes.
Yes, Carsten Fuß from the German television. It's nearly the same question from my colleague, because it's the first time that you will use technology in international football. If you will say maybe it could be the next step to see whether it's offside or not, to use a camera. Is this possible, or would you say today, no, we wouldn't decide this at the same time?
I think it was said and repeated and said and repeated, etc., many times, not only here. I mean, within the meeting of the IFAB, all 4 member associations, the British Member Association as FIFA, we have been very clear. We are not opening a discussion on technology. We have agreed to help and to support the referees by putting in place the goal line technology and opening for companies, first 2 and others in the future, the goal line technology. But there is no discussion about technology, and there is no agenda on discussing in the future the technology in football.
Okay, I think Richard and then Rob, please.
Richard Conway, BBC. Was there any discussion about attaching a commercial partner to the use of the technology in the World Cup or the Confederations Cup in the same way that Wimbledon or other sports do with Hawkeye at the moment?
Do you mean that we could have a commercial agreement, a sponsorship agreement with one of the company in order to avoid to pay for the systems? Firstly, our commercial programs is closed. We have all the international companies at the first level, at the FIFA partner level. We have all the companies at the FIFA World Cup sponsor level. We have some discussion, I think, for the national supporter, but there is no space for such agreement. So again, I mean, we will use as, and that's, again, to answer the question, I mean, as an event organizer, we are making the decision to use the goal line technology within our events, the Club World Cup, Confederations Cup, and World Cup, and we'll pay for the system.
It's a question for Alex first, but I think it applies to all of you, if I'd like all your views, if that's okay. As the Football Association, you are protectors of the game as a whole, both the professional game and the grassroots. This isn't going to help the grassroots at all. Do you fear now that you're creating a two-tier system?
I don't see how it hinders the grassroots. I don't see that it affects the grassroots at all. I think the reality of the game is that we have a multiple leveled system now. In many grassroots games, you'd have a referee and parents running the line. In some grassroots games, you'd have two linesmen. I'm not supposed to call them linesmen, am I? Assistant referees. Then you might have a fourth official, and then you get into the upper echelons of the Champions League, and you've got 6 officials and a spare official in case one of them breaks down. So there's already quite a graduation of resource applied to football matches, and I think this is just another example of it. All we're doing by protecting the laws of the game, we're being responsible about what we allow into the laws of the game. As far as possible, we want this to remain a universal game. It's a game of 2 halves, of 90 minutes, blah, 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 blah. But the notion of a referee controlling the game is universal. All we're doing here is adding in assistance to that referee in doing his job. And the reality of grassroots football versus the FA Cup final, it is different. There will be 600 million people watching the FA Cup final, and there might be 30 people watching a grassroots game. So I think there's a lot of graduation in the sport already.
If I could just build on that, I think you've got to look at the professional elite end of the game very differently to the grassroots side. Given the money that's in the game now, particularly at international level, then it's important that decisions are made that are correct and that can help the referee, because there's so much money, there's so many ranking places, there's so many opportunities for clubs and countries riding on that decision. So the International FA Board has looked at a decision to help the referees in that regard. Equally, from time to time, we look at decisions that can help the grassroots game. In Surrey, earlier this year, this board made the decision to modify the game on a trial basis to increase the number of substitutes in the grassroots game to actually improve participation in the game, which actually is of importance to the grassroots, and that's probably more important because we're all keen to have people playing football on a regular basis. So I don't think one is going to impact the other. I think this board's job is to look what are the right decisions for the right parts of the game, and I think we've made those.
I'll just make 2 points, if I may. With the exception, of course, of modifications, which can be taken at a local level. The laws of the game are universal, and they apply, of course, to the very top as well as the very bottom. We've been very conscious to ensure that that is maintained. But I'd also go back. This is an aid. The ref's decision is final. The ref's decision is final at the grassroots level, and the ref's decision is final in the FIFA World Cup final as well.
And I would add, I'm pleased you asked the question, actually, because so often in these conferences, we focus purely on the professional and the elite game. And every one of us as national associations, we have 4 here, but there are 209 in total in FIFA. Everyone has the balance to strike between performance and participation. And when we try and sit here as members of the International Football Association Board, we try and set laws which will work everywhere. And we know that goal line technology is not going to be used in every single game. It's going to be used at the elite end of the game. But it doesn't absolve us of our responsibility to look after the laws of the game for everybody. I think that's what we do.
Okay, thanks, ladies and gentlemen. I think that concludes the press conference. I'd just like to say the gentleman here will be available for a short time before they go for a well-deserved dinner for some one-on-one interviews. Also, to make you aware that Steve Carter from Hawkeye and Ingmar Bretz from GoalRef, they will both be available for you as well. We've suggested they go to the back of the auditorium so the TVs can come here and anybody else can go towards the back. And also just to point out, there will be shortly available a whole raft of information on FIFA.com, including some animated videos, which I think you'll find helpful. So thanks for your patience again. Thank you.